Now, the difference between let and const is very easy. Take a look at this table. Now here we can see 4 differences that are there between const and let. Now the first one is reassignment. This refers to whether you can change the value of a variable after it has been declared. A const variable cannot be reassigned, meaning its value remains the same throughout the program. A let variable, however, allows you to update its value anytime. Now let me show you with an example. If I say const num or const age is equal to 22, and then if I say age is first, if I console log age, you can see here I have 22. Let me make this one bigger. So you can see here I have 22. Now if I say in a later time age is equal to 25, we get an error. It says assignment to a constant variable is not allowed. So once you assign your constant variable to 22, you're not going to be able to change it later. However, if I do this with a let, it is possible. So if I say let age is equal to 22, it says let age is equal to 22. We console logged it. Now in a later time, if I say age is equal to 30, you can see it changes. If I say age is equal to 40, you can say it changes. Even if I just turn my variable into a string, if I say hello, you can say it simply changes. If I turn it to a boolean false, it changes. So you can change. So we realized that let is 100% mutable, and you can change the value inside it. Now let's talk about initialization. Now initialization is that actually const requires an initial value at the time of declaration. It means you must assign something to it immediately. Let, on the other hand, does not require an initial value and can remain undefined until a later assignment. For example, if you say let name or first name, and then you just let it empty, and in a later time you say first name is equal to John Doe, and then if you console log first name, you can see with no problem your application works, and it actually console logs the value inside it. So in a later time you can change it again if you wanted to. First name is equal to Jane Doe. Now if you just console log it, it's gonna simply reassign the variable. However, if you do that with const, let's say this first name is const first name, and in a later time I say first name is equal to John Doe. Now you can see we get an error. It says missing initializer in const declaration. So it means at the very beginning that you actually define your variable, you're going to have to assign it to a value. For example, John Doe right here. John Doe. So as you can see, now we have no error. So it means that the const requires an immediate and initial value. Now about mutable references, while you cannot reassign a const variable, objects and arrays declared with const can still be modified. This means you can change their properties and add new items, but you cannot completely replace the reference. Let me show you one example. If we say, for example, const person is equal to an object which has a key of name with John Doe and with a key of age with a value of 25. Now, this is the object of person which we defined using the variable container const. Now, if you say console log person, you can see it is printed here. Name is John Doe and age is 25. Now, you cannot say person is equal to name Jane Doe and age is 30. So we have the assignment error again. Assignment to constant variable. It is not possible. But what you are able to do is to say person.age is equal to 35, for example. Now you can see we have the same person, John Doe, but with the age of 35. So you see that we could actually manipulate it and mutate the age of this person. So the properties and the items inside an object or array can be modified, but it doesn't mean that you have to change the whole object of person. However, with let, you can do that. You can say let person, and the name is John Doe, and the age is 25. Now, if I say person is equal to name is, I don't know, Jane Smith, and age is 20. Now you can see we have age 20, Jane Smith. So you can actually change the whole object using let. Now the last one, actually scope, because in this course we haven't talked about scope, and I don't want to confuse you, because when we talk about scope, when we actually talk about functions. Now, because I haven't started the section of functions yet, I'm not going to make it so long, but nevertheless, I don't want to let it just go. So don't worry if you get confused, because we haven't actually talked about scopes. We're going to talk about them in the session and in the session of functions. And for now, I just want you to know that when you write a code here in this script.js, if I say, for example, let a is equal to 2, this variable is stored in the global scope. So this is called the global scope. Block scopes are things such as like functions, and functions are defined like this. We say function num is, then we use parentheses, and then we open and close curly braces. And inside that curly braces, we have a block. So whatever we write is gonna be inside that block, and it doesn't belong to the global scope. Now this let a belongs to the global scope. Now if I say console log a, you can see that this number 2 is actually printed in our console. Now if I cut this let a and put it inside this block, you can see that we actually get a is not defined. It is because this variable is defined inside this function, and this is not inside the global scope. If you want that variable to be printed, we need to just move this console log to the function, and in the later time we're going to learn that each function should be called to work. So we call it in global scope. Now we see this 2, which is actually this variable. Now it doesn't matter if it's a let or const, they are blocked scoped. So if I say const name is equal to John Doe, now if I say please console log, let's say first name. Now let's console first name. As you can see, now this console log is working for the first name. Now if I cut this variable and put it inside this function, you can say first name is not defined. So it means if you want to see first name, you're gonna have to console log first name inside the block. So this is what you need to do in order for the const and let to work. This is the reason that we say that they are dependent on their scope. So scope determines where a variable can be accessed in the code. Both const and let are blocked scoped, meaning that they exist only within the curly braces or brackets, I don't know what you call them, in which they are defined. Outside of that block, they are inaccessible. Now, this was it. This was all about the differences between const and let, but don't worry if you didn't understand the whole thing about the scope, because we actually haven't started the session of functions yet. As soon as we start the function sessions, I'm going to talk a lot more and show you a lot more examples about functions and scope. Thank you guys for watching my video. Please like and subscribe if it was helpful to you, and let's go to our next session.